How do you know when a dad joke is a dad joke? When it's apparent. Not so good. All right, I can't win at a wall. There's a reason I'm not doing stand-up. There's many reasons. Or professional dancer.
All right. We're going to let you, that's going to be a hard act to follow, one. Hopefully you keep your energy. Two, we're going to let your inner 2-year-old come out today. Who's excited about that? Yeah. So, I'm Teresa Kravitchka. Yes, I spelled my name wrong on the slide.
Don't put these things on my fault.
Yes. So that was, I'm not known for my detail work. I'm obviously not a QA. So,
And I'm Brett Bushman. Oh, this is really loud.
oh,
No,
I'm just yelling.
It's fine.
It's fine?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So when my own ear comes out.
No.
maybe lower it a little
Lower.
bit. So, we're going to teach you how, or Brett mostly, is going to teach you how letting no work for you will be good for you.
All right. So how can no work for you? Right. Immediately upon thinking about the word no, most people start to get a little bit of fear inside, right? If I say no, people aren't going to like me anymore. Humans are one of the most social mammals on the planet, and we don't like to disagree with other people because that will get us kicked out of our safe zone, our tribe. Right? Still. But no is one of the most powerful tools we have when talking to someone if we want to actually implement some kind of change. Because no actually helps the people we're talking with feel a whole wide variety of different stuff, right? It makes them actually feel safe. Once they have the opportunity to say no to you, they feel like they are in control of the conversation. Even if you're an expert conversationalist, they feel like they're back in control of the conversation the second they can say no, and they are much more willing to listen to anything you have to say, even if you just want to get them to pick a lunch place, right? So it makes you feel safe, secure, they know what's going on. You have a lot of pictures.
And emotionally comfortable.
Yes, and emotionally comfortable, right? So that all ties into it. Those of you who were here the first day, right, I talked about stress a lot. It actually helps them remove that stress because it gets all of that, it gets them that dopamine, serotonin, and actually gets them a little oxytocin hit too, which is one I don't think anyone talked about yet today, but that's what actually forms human bonds and connections. So, that's not attractive, those slides. Alright. So, the other thing is that no lets us kind of protect people, right? It gives us data, it lets them get the data out that they want to get out, right? So if they're making a decision and we can frame a question for them some way that is no, that allows them to answer no to it, it will cause them to second guess their decision, right? You know that that's not the right way to approach something. It's going to give them that opportunity to kind of second guess themselves. It also lets us apply boundaries, right? Boundaries are good. We need to know the boundaries of what we're working within if we're actually going to have a productive conversation, right? If we're going to have an agreement of some form between us, we need to know what the boundaries of that agreement are. It also lets us slow down the conversation. Slowing down allows us to think. We don't get into that headspace, right? There's a ton of things you can do that also can accomplish slow down, even just like I did and started slowing down my voice. Because we have a bunch of mirror neurons in our brain that whatever we're doing, the other person is going to do to match us, right? So it's going to slow down the conversation and force people to think, right? Covered this, incorrect decisions. I didn't remember what order they were on the slides. On the first or the last time it's ever happened to me. Right, so it lets us protect from those incorrect decisions.
Right, so why do we say yes too early? And I think Chris kind of covered some of these points yesterday. He was talking in his first presentation yesterday. But why do you think you say yes right away? What are some reasons you think? When somebody asks you to do something, your immediate response is yes.
Be agreeable.
Stay agreeable. Please them. To please them.
Afraid you'll get in trouble.
Afraid you're going to get in trouble. Any other reasons? Because you're non-confrontational, yeah. I'll just do it so I don't have to worry about it. So there's different reasons we say yes for different situations. So at work, we might say yes because we want to meet the expectations and do a good job. So if your boss comes and tells you, asks you to do something, how many of us are comfortable saying no? Tip. Eric. We need our jobs, right? We got food to put on the table, house to pay for, so we say no when we get in trouble. In our personal relationships, we say yes for different reasons. They're important to us. We want to keep the people in our lives happy. We're social creatures. We want people to like us. And in general, we are people pleasers. We want to please other people. I am like one of the biggest enforcers of this. I am a people pleaser. I want to make everybody happy. And we fear being disliked and rejected. Going back to the social thing, we want to be accepted. We want to be included for the most part. Even if you're an introvert, you want that social interaction. We say yes to make other people happy, not necessarily ourselves. Are there any other scenarios besides work and just in our general lives where you may find it hard to say no?
Grocery store when they ask you if you left out everything okay?
Yes, I would say yeah.
Just because you don't want to get it.
Right, yeah. It's too complicated.
Or actually, when you do tell them, no, you didn't have this, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they're going to do anything about
Right.
it.
Yeah, learn that word.
To authority, yeah, anybody in authority, right? I think we covered it in the past.
Yeah, we've evolved your response whenever we just say no to other people and kind of sort of, which is fascinating.
Tell you who I don't have problems saying no to. Insurance salespeople.
That's right. I just advise like, no, I'm okay, thank you. I'll walk a whole block around somewhere just to avoid people on the street.
Just only get your cell phone number, your email address.
All right. But always saying yes has its own consequences. It can add a lot of stress to our daily lives. Like, when I agree to do something, then I'm like, oh, how am I going to fit that into my schedule already? I didn't realize it was going to be so busy, but I don't want to let them down. It puts a lot of extra stress on yourself. How are you going to accomplish all those things you said yes to? Builds up anxiety and frustration, because you can get frustrated with yourself, like, how am I going to get this done, or I'm going to let them down, or I'm just going to stay in bed all day because I just don't even know how to deal with this today. And be disappointed in yourself, especially if you consider yourself a high performer, like you want to do a good job, you want to impress your boss, you want to make your friends happy, and if you don't feel like if you say yes to too many things and you can't put your 100% in, be disappointed in yourself. And you can get resentful to the people that are asking you to do things. Like, why do they keep asking me to do this? Can't they see I'm so busy? There's a quote up here by Esther Derby. I don't know if you can hear it or see it on the slide. She's kind of well known in the Agile circle. But she says here, if you can't say no, your yeses don't mean much. If you become a yes person, they don't really mean much to anybody anymore because they know you're always going to say yes. In addition to to the other ones, you can have physical repercussions from always saying yes. You can have depression, high blood pressure because you're always feeling stressed out, and low self-esteem because you feel like you're disappointed. So think about the meetings you're in all the time, because I know we're all in a lot of meetings, right? Anybody disagree with that? The cartoon up here says, there's a yes sign on the wall, you can't see it, says sometimes we need a no one also. So you think about all the meetings that you're in, how often do you say yes when you really don't agree? Majority of the time? Half the time? He's back there. So think about when I put these answers up, these responses up, how often you are on that side of the fence. So you're in a meeting or in a collaboration session with your coworkers, or anybody, they're like, this is our decision, and you're like, yes, I love it, let's go do. Or, it's the best alternative, I can stand behind it, we can move this to 5. How many of you do this majority of the time?
I just think a lot of times it's more subtle. You don't say yes.
But you can support
Don't
it,
say
you
no.
usually walk out.
Just go along.
Okay. Next 2, it's the best alternative, but let's consider how. Or yes, it's okay, but I like other options better. This is how you're feeling when you leave, not necessarily what you're saying. Does anybody feel like this sometimes? Isn't that cheap? How about, I'm nodding my head, but I'm not convinced. Or, I'm nodding my head, but I'll actively block this after the meeting. Hey, Bob, stop you in the hall. I just don't think that's the right decision. What do you think? Let's do something. But if we spoke up and said, I can't support that, what kind of conversation do you think that would open up? Would you feel more fulfilled with the actions you have to take after having a conversation you can support?
I think even if you speak up, at least for me personally, if I speak up and say no, or have the conversation, I feel better, even if it doesn't change the decision. I feel like at least I was able to, I'm not holding it in.
Right. You aren't resentful after
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Or trying to block it.
Right.
If you qualify with the why and
I don't agree because, or no, I can't support that, here's what I think. And then after some conversation, maybe, yeah,
that no one else saw
yeah.
Right. So how can we actually start using no, right? It's all good information, right? To know that there's stuff we can do. By the way, my O's are messing with me. They keep biting me. It's weird. I just noticed my accent's been changing because I've worked with more people in Colorado over time. So how can I start using no, right? So let's go over some basics for conversation that we're going to start with. We're going to actually do an activity so we can practice using no in a conversation. Because no isn't the end of the conversation. No is the beginning of a conversation, right? No lets us know that we actually have a disagreement. So it's going to let us have that conversation then, right? So basics, just so we can all get on the same page again, right? Use the language of the person you're talking to, right? If you're technical, don't use a lot of technical jargon if you're talking to someone else. They're gonna, even if you get asked all the right questions, they're immediately gonna shut you up and be like, I don't understand anything this dude's saying. Right? He's up there spewing Agile, Scrum, whatever, but I don't even know what that is. Right? Explain any acronyms. That goes along with the first one. Big one, and this is something everyone on the internet forgets. Your goal in a conversation isn't to win or to score imaginary conversation points. Is to get everyone to a shared goal, to a shared spot of understanding, right? And that's the biggest way I've found, recognizing that when I'm talking to someone, to actually be able to use no, right? To get over that fear of using no is coming to that understanding that I'm not trying to get them, I'm not trying to win this. I'm trying to get on the same page with them. And no is going to allow us to do that easier. And you want to ask a lot of questions. Right? So if you've gone through the behavior puzzle stuff, we talk about the coaching, the whys, the whats, the hows, how to ask a lot of questions. Or if you just feel like asking, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to do this? Right? Ask questions, stay curious. This is going to give you a lot more opportunities to engage in the conversation, because as soon as you start making direct statements of fact about something, you're going to start to converse. It's going to put the other person in a defensive mode. Right? So we want to avoid that. All right, first technique we're going to talk about is labeling and mislabeling basically what the other person's saying to us, right? So the concept of labeling says we're going to restate the phrasing back to them. You start typically with, so it sounds like this is how you want to go, right? So this is the first opportunity they're going to have to say no, right? So it sounds like this is what you want. Is it what they want? Right? Now they know that you've been listening to them, right? So they're automatically on board. But, it's alright. You got a preview. Alright? But now they have the opportunity to say no, that isn't what I meant, right? We talked about it lets us protect from incorrect decisions, right? Getting on the same page, making sure everyone understands the same thing. There's no unmet expectations, going back to our first day and Chris Dunn's presentation if you were here for that, right? This is how we get rid of some of those unmet expectations in a conversation. But it gives them the opportunity to say no right away. Right? This is one of the few times that you don't ask it in a question form. You're just stating it back to them. And sometimes, if it seems like the other person isn't listening to you in any way, shape, or form, or unwilling to engage in the conversation, they just want to say their piece, mic drop and walk out, you have to mislabel it, right? Purposely misstate back to them what you're understanding them to mean, right? The idea here isn't to be underhanded, it's just to get them to re-engage back in the conversation, let them say it again, and then, because once they say no, it actually tricks their brain into listening to you again, right? So then you can state it back to them the way you actually understood it and can have the conversation again. It's all just about getting them back into the conversation so we can actually have a good conversation and come to a better decision. All right. So the next one is extreme questioning. You don't want to use this one liberally. You need to use it in, I have a question. Next, right? Extreme questioning. Right? Not listening to you, they're not responding to your emails. Do you want this to fail? Right? If they say yes, that's a good piece of information to have too, right? You need to know where you stand. But then if they say, oh no, people are automatically going to give you whatever their excuse is, right? But that excuse is information you need to know. They have other priorities, right? It's not that they want it to fail. They just don't have time right now, right? Or they've been engaged in this other stuff. This isn't high on the list of priorities, which gives you, the other conversation partner, information you need to know, okay, how can I get it higher on the list of priorities, right? So that's going to let us start that conversation, right? Conversation starts. Yes typically ends the conversation.
So we put a pretty extreme question up here. What are some other extreme questions you can think of?
Are you stupid?
Are you stupid?
I stay away from personal attacks. Wow. It might work with the right person.
It's a very extreme question. Anything else?
Why was that approach taken?
Yeah, why did you use it? Was there one back here?
Maybe not one.
Oh,
Is this not important?
is this not important? Yeah.
Do you not want this value?
I got one. Would it be impossible to, and then whatever it is you want to get out?
Would it be impossible to, like,
Yeah. Remember, you're not gonna, you actually want to say yes and agree on things at some point. Your whole goal isn't to say no the entire conversation, right? We need to come to some kind of agreement at some point on our goal. This is just a tool to get to that point, so that they don't shut down and say, okay, yeah, that's cool, later, but not actively get on board. Right? Conversation skills.
Alright, so we're gonna let you guys practice a little bit using some of these techniques. So find a partner, and each of you think of a scenario where you wanted to say no, or start a conversation with no, or where you actually said yes, or agreed to something, and then where no would have held the conversation. So take turns, kind of talking through that scenario, and maybe practice having that conversation again, talking about some of the things we went through, like the labeling, mislabeling, replying back. And we can put some of these up here for you too while you're doing the practice side. So we'll give each person about 4 minutes for you to share your side, and then we'll ask you to switch.
Everyone understand what we're doing? Everyone on board? It's okay to say no, remember? We're practicing this. Right? Even in a big group, it's okay to say no. Right?
So everybody find a partner.
So thank you for going through with this. I know people don't like role play a lot.
We're supposed to find a topic where one has to know. So, I mean, you can take our answers. I know. Okay, so maybe developer in the slide. I don't think it's important. Because of the 2-year-old.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so how did that go?
Okay.
People actually say no?
No.
No? Awesome! I'm so proud of all of you right now.
Does anybody want to share the conversation?
We've had some insight. My son's getting married in a month, and one of the things that I fall into the trap is when there's no question asked, but there's either a job that needs to be done or something that needs to be paid for. I'm kind of a natural and fill the hole, so I say yes without even hearing the question, and that kind of resonated with me. I was like, wow, I've not even asked a question.
It's interesting though, because there's a fine line there, because that's also what makes you a good agile team member, self-directed, you just find the task and pick it up, and so finding that balance, I think, is.
But do you do the task without, if you don't leave it? Like, do you just do it?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that's.
And I think part of
I don't
that.
know if it's a mom thing, but like just chores around the house, you know, you naturally feel like, well, if I don't do that, it will.
Right, I fall in that trap too.
I know, you can wait years.
You want to live in your own film?
That piece of paper's been there for 2 weeks.
That's funny you say that, because we talked a little bit about the difference between doing it and getting it done. And I said, I can do a pretty decent job of that at work. Like, I'd say thing with kids, like, I told you to do it, and you didn't do it.
Right,
So I do it.
right, yeah. You just say yes to it and ask a question.
Anybody else want to share? Maybe?
Yeah, so we talked about,
You want to stand up?
yes, so we talked about parenting. It's natural that you have a kid, if you ask them to go throw something away and they say no, you look at them and say, did you just tell me no? So it kind of sets like an authority standard that, from a child to being now an adult, leadership, you say no to a leader, kind of that same ability.
Yeah.
I have a child who loves to say no and tell me I'm wrong all the time. And only recently he has started saying no, but he actually told me no, and then he explained to me why he thought he was right. And so I tried to have a talk like, that was really good, like do that again. So, I mean, you still have to teach them to say, you can't say no. I mean, you can't always tell them that. And the fact that he like rationalized why he thought his answer was better, what he would think was better, was like, that's like a good moment where he was able to vocalize. I was like, I can see your side.
What we all want to do is say no because, right?
And we all want our kids to grow up to be like, more assertive and not just pushovers. So just not letting them say no to you is really bad. I have one kid who says no all the time, but he's very rational about it. He's so a good job. And then I realized the irony of me calling my son.
No, it lets us learn a lot of things, right? We don't learn anything when someone says yes to us, other than we do that, right? Awesome, we can do it. As soon as someone says no, well, it's not like I didn't learn yet.
Amy?
Well, in terms of, your kids saying no, there's a fine line there too, to teach your kids how to negotiate. And, saying no is how you start to negotiate, really. Well, no, I won't do that, but if you do this and this, then I'll do it. Or, no, I can't do that, but I can do it tomorrow. Would that work?
She's on to us. This is all pulled from negotiation skills.
Yeah.
We tried to actually talk about when was the last time you heard no in a retro. I was like, right, that's supposed to be the safe haven for a team to express maybe no. And I'm going, oh, we're just such a bunch of pushovers and acquiescents. Okay.
Well, and to the other perspective is you're presented with a request, a requirement, and you may not believe it. I don't think this is a good idea. How many things do you push back? We don't think that would be best for the product or the system or whatever, but we think this would be a better solution for you, or let us better understand what it is you're looking for. Like that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? Working with our clients and asking them, tell us what you need, and then let us figure it out.
I keep thinking about the session from last year's session, where you're supposed to ask strong questions where there can be a yes
Or powerful questions, yeah. No,
You don't want somebody telling you no, rephrase the
it sounds like, that's still yes.
And sometimes people don't listen though, even when we ask them powerful questions. And this is one of the techniques you can use to get them engaged in the conversation enough where those powerful questions can be effective. Give them that opportunity to disagree. Or force them to disagree with you in some cases.
So we were kind of talking about, there was some leader questions. Who are some other people we really have a hard time saying no to? We heard leaders, we heard people in power positions.
Children.
Children, yes, some people. I've heard that no to children. How about stakeholders? We kind of talked about that a little bit here. We want to please them.
So when can it be hard to say no then? Right? There's specific people, other situations.
FSA.
FSA.
In negotiations with them, it can be useful.
I will share something that I've been trying to do more because I get, not necessarily always at work, but in my personal life. Will you be the secretary for a community club? Will you be on the church board? Will you be part of the parent-teacher association? I have a habit of saying yes, not realizing because I want to be involved, I want to be part of the community, not realizing how much time or expectations it might take for me. So now I'm like, okay,